Greeting everyone, we are from Group 8 to present GDP agriculture sector contribution of commodity for Malaysia's economy.
When one thinks of Malaysia's economy, they typically picture crowded cities with tall buildings and lots of traffic. But agriculture, which is equally important, is often overlooked. Malaysia's development has long been significantly influenced by farming. Food is supplied, village life is supported, and millions of Malaysians are given jobs. Three crops are especially important today: palm oil, rubber, and cocoa. These are not only plants, they are vital to the growth of our economy. In this video, we will look at the benefit these crops provide to our country, how farming links Malaysia to the rest of the world through trade, the current issue facing the sector, and some innovative ideas that are advancing our cause.
As we have seen, agriculture has always been a fundamental aspect of Malaysia's progress from the beginning. Let us examine the impact of three large-scale agricultural products such as palm oil, rubber, and cocoa on Malaysia's GDP. First, let's briefly explain the meaning of GDP, or Gross Domestic Product. GDP measures the total market value of goods and services produced by a country's factors of production in a year. Let us take a closer look at how the agricultural sector has contributed to Malaysia's GDP from 2015 to 2024. In 2015, agriculture was valued at 97.5 billion ringgit, but in 2016, it decreased by negative 3.7% to 94 billion ringgit due to unfavorable weather and falling commodity prices. However, in 2019, agriculture grew to 101.6 billion ringgit, which was caused by increased palm oil prices and improving weather conditions. In 2020 and 2021, the pandemic slowed agriculture with decreases to 98.9 billion ringgit. For 2024, there is an increase of 3.1% growth, reaching 103.5 billion due to strong palm oil exports and innovations. Let us now proceed to analyze the position that cocoa, rubber, and palm oil have taken in Malaysia's economy for the past 10 years. The palm oil added value for 2015 was 37.9 billion ringgit. In 2016, prices from around the world and market volatility caused the sector to decrease by negative 12.7%. The sector for 2017 expanded to 38.4 billion ringgit because of higher global demand. The COVID-19 pandemic resulted in a negative 3.6% drop in 2020 to 34.8 billion ringgit in 2021 due to disruptions in supply chains and worker shortage. The sector resumed its growth in 2022 as is projected to grow to 38.1 billion in 2024. Rubber achieved an added value of 3.3 billion ringgit in 2015. The sector experienced a negative 6.3% reduction in 2016, but its value added fell 3.1 billion ringgit because of market weakness. The sector rebounded in 2017 with a 9.3% increase, reaching 3.4 billion ringgit. Rubber also experienced a decline during the pandemic, but is expected to show steady recovery, growing in value to 1.8 billion ringgit by 2024. While palm oil and rubber are major parts of Malaysia's economy, cocoa also plays an important role, though it is smaller. In 2015, cocoa contributed 1.6 billion ringgit to the economy. However, there is no data available regarding 2016, which prevents us from analyzing what happened during that time. Next, in 2018, it grew by 4.4%, reaching 1.44 billion ringgit. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic created a reduction in 2020, which caused the sector to produce at 0.85 billion ringgit. The sector is showing signs of recovery and expected to increase to 0.6 billion ringgit in 2024. This shows that Malaysia's economy has always relied heavily on agriculture, of which palm oil is the main source, followed by rubber and cocoa.
I will then explain the role of agriculture in Malaysian trade, focusing on the goods we export and import, as well as the economic impact caused by this. Palm oil is Malaysia's most important agricultural export from 2020 to 2024. It is commonly used in cosmetics, cooking, and more. In 2020, the most goods were sent out of the country with 17.4 million tons. Part of the reason for this was that there was a lot of demand around the world during the COVID-19 pandemic. But after that, exports fell because there weren't enough workers and the EU made it harder to import goods. They rose back to 16.9 million tons in 2024 when workers came back and the global economy got better. Rubber is another key export, especially in the form of medical gloves and automotive parts. Natural rubber exports showed a gradual decline from 1.07 million tons in 2020 to a low of 947,818 tons in 2023. This drop happened as pandemic-driven glove demand fell and global competition increased. However, there was a slight recovery in 2024, reaching 1.02 million tons due to renewed demand in the automotive and industrial sectors. Though smaller than in the 1980s, Malaysia still exports cocoa products like powder and butter. Cocoa powder exports steadily increased over the 5-year period from 145,036 tons in 2020 to 209,579 tons in 2024. This growth reflects Malaysia's move toward value-added processing as well as rising international demand for high-quality cocoa products. Let's move forward to imports. To satisfy local demand, Malaysia imports necessities like rice and animal feed. However, we will concentrate only on cocoa powder, natural rubber and palm oil. Palm oil imports reached a record high of 1.17 million tons in 2021. The surge may be due to demand for refined oil and challenge in local production. Imports declined sharply to just 253,485 tons in 2024, in line with the recovery of local production and increased refining capacity. Malaysia is not only an exporter but also an importer, as natural rubber imports remain consistently high, exceeding 1 million tons per annum. With a significant increase to 7,598.15 million ringgit in 2024, the value of imports reflects global price trends. This may indicate an increase in domestic consumption or industrial use of rubber. For at least 5 years, the import of cocoa powder has been significantly reduced. In 2022, that number was significantly reduced to just 4,461 tons. In 2024, it recovered to 7,166 tons. Malaysia is a reliable exporting country with low dependence on imports, as this figure is still low compared to exports. In other words, agricultural trade promotes Malaysia's economic growth, maintain the country's foreign exchange reserve, and improve relations with other countries. The agricultural industry is not just about import and exports, it also involves job, innovation, and our future.
Now, I would like to briefly talk about 3 big macroeconomic challenges faced by the agriculture sector, which are limited land, labour shortage, and unpredictable weather. Let's start with limited land. Today, more land is used for building and infrastructure. This will lead to decrease the amount of land available for agriculture, and farmers find it difficult to produce more crops on less land. Secondly, labour shortage will also be a main challenge in the agriculture sector. Many young people prefer working in the urban areas where jobs are easier and salaries are high. On the contrary, they think farming is difficult and often doesn't pay as well. Therefore, this will cause an impact on rubber, which still depends a lot on manual tapping. Thirdly, unpredictable weather caused by climate change is making things even harder. For example, in Malaysia, the weather is hard to predict, such as heavy rain, which can destroy cocoa and palm oil because they are sensitive to both excess or lack of water. In summary, this challenge will not only affect farmers' work but also impact daily food supply, exports, and the overall economy of Malaysia.
As mentioned by Ivan, Malaysia's agriculture sector is facing serious macroeconomic challenges such as limited land, labour shortages, and unpredictable weather. To address these challenges, innovation is key. First solution is agrivoltaics, which combines solar panels with farming activities. By placing panels above crops like cocoa or palm oil, farmers can generate clean energy and optimize limited land, while also protecting crops from excessive heat and heavy rainfall. Next, introducing drone technology can help to ease labour shortages by automating tasks like crop monitoring and fertilizer application. This makes plantation work faster, more efficient, and less reliant on manual labour. Furthermore, sensor-based irrigation systems are a smart solution as weather patterns are becoming harder to predict. These systems allows farmers to manage water usage more efficiently by responding to real-time soil moisture data. Supported by government agropreneur programs and youth training initiatives, these innovations are paving the way for a more resilient and future-ready agriculture sector.
In conclusion, despite the increasing importance of urban focus and industrialization, agriculture still plays a private role within Malaysia's macroeconomic framework. The subsectors remain relevant and economically productive, with palm oil, rubber, and cocoa being the main contributors to GDP and export revenues. However, this sector has many problems. The various elements like land area, potential labour, and climate change put agricultural activities at risk. There is still great optimism about the situational outlook alongside the national policies in place for youth participation. In Malaysia, innovation is actively being pursued through the implementation of agrivoltaics, drones, and smart irrigation system. With this innovation, previously defined efficiency and productivity will be attainable. In addition to ensuring operational agriculture's contribution toward economic development, food security, and rural employment. In that sense, we may safely say that the remaining concerns of Malaysia's agriculture lie within the balanced fusion of our roots and forward-minded approaches. The sector is made viable along with the infrastructure of national development, allowing for sustainable practices coupled with the implementation of intelligent technologies that promise the economic well-being for many upcoming generations.